Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a really clever marketing tactic that's hiding in plain sight during pretty much every major sporting event. It's a whole story about branding, legal loopholes, and this high-stakes game of cat and mouse that you've almost definitely seen, but maybe never really noticed.
Okay, so let's start with a little mystery. You're watching a game, right? And you see these logos plastered everywhere. On the jerseys, on the banners around the field. Names like 1xBet, Duffa News, Melbat. They sound legit, kind of like sports equipment companies or maybe a news site. But be honest, have you ever gone out and tried to buy a 1xBet cricket bat? Probably not. So, what's really going on here?
All right, it's time to pull back the curtain and unmask the real players behind these names that just sound so familiar. This is where it all starts to click.
And boom, here's the big reveal. 1xBet is actually a front for the offshore betting company 1xBet. Dufana News is a stand-in for Dafabet. MLPAT for Melbat. You see the pattern? These are what are known as surrogate brands. They're basically decoys, designed to look harmless while actually promoting a totally different and often highly regulated business.
Yeah, this whole strategy actually has a name. It's called surrogate advertising. It's a classic marketing playbook for promoting stuff in places where you're not allowed to advertise it directly. You just create this legit-looking front company, and that way the real brand gets to keep its name and logo right in front of your eyes.
And you know what? This is not a new trick. We have seen this exact tactic for decades, especially from big alcohol brands. I mean, think about it. You see an ad for club soda or maybe some music CDs, and it just so happens to share the exact same name as a famous brand of whiskey. That's it. That's surrogate advertising. Building that brand name in your head without ever technically breaking the rules.
And what's really important to get here is that this isn't just a couple of companies being sneaky. The scale of this whole operation is absolutely massive, and it's all happening right out in the open.
So just to give you an idea of the kind of money we're talking about, back in 2022, it's estimated that these offshore betting companies spent around 3,500 crore rupees, that's over 400 million US dollars, just on advertising in India, in a single year. And guess what? Experts say that number has only gone up since.
And they are literally everywhere in sports. You've got domestic leagues like the TNPL and the ISL in India, all the way to huge international tournaments like the Big Bash in Australia and the Pakistan Super League. And we're not just talking about little banner ads in the background. They are the main sponsors for entire teams, with their surrogate logos printed right on the front of the jerseys.
This quote right here from Roland Landers at the AIGF just nails how the strategy keeps changing. As soon as regulators start cracking down on TV ads, these companies just morph. They pivot. Now you see the ads on taxis, buses, billboards, and pushed by tons of social media influencers, which makes them way, way harder to track.
So with all this money being thrown around, you obviously get a huge conflict. Regulators are trying to fight back, but honestly, it's turned into this high-stakes game of whack-a-mole.
You see, the real problem for a country like India is that these companies are offshore. They're based in places like Cyprus or the Philippines, which puts them in this tricky legal gray area. There's no single central law that can really govern them, so they're experts at finding and exploiting all the little loopholes in the system.
And what you get is this classic cat and mouse game. India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the MIB, sends out these warnings. They tell TV channels, social media sites, even celebrity endorsers, hey, stop promoting these sites. But the second one door closes, poof, the betting firms just find another one. They pivot to these harder-to-track channels, using QR codes that take you to a WhatsApp group, or just doubling down on all those physical billboards we just saw.
And this isn't just an issue in one country. When you zoom out, you see this massive global tug-of-war happening, with some of the biggest sports organizations in the world pulling in completely opposite directions.
I mean, just look at this contrast. It's kind of wild. On one hand, you have the International Cricket Council. In 2023, they actually got rid of their 18-year-old ban on betting sponsors on team jerseys. But then, on the complete other side, you have one of the world's richest sports leagues, the English Premier League, where the clubs all got together and voted to ban betting sponsors from the front of their shirts. Two giants of the sports world with two totally different mindsets.
So why does this matter so much? Well, you have to look at the history behind that original ICC ban. It wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It was a direct response to the huge match-fixing scandals that absolutely rocked cricket back in the 90s and 2000s. That ban was a huge part of the sport's anti-corruption reforms, which is what makes the decision to reverse it so significant. So, where does all this leave us? You've got advertisers getting more and more creative, regulators who are constantly playing catch-up, and global sports bodies that just can't seem to agree on how to handle it all.
The main thing to take away from all this is that the fight for your attention is way more complex than it looks. In a digital world with no borders, where a company can be based anywhere and reach anyone, the old rules of advertising are basically being rewritten in real time. Which leaves us with one final question to think about. As this high-stakes name game keeps playing out on our screens, who's actually winning?